I'm Lisa Haisha. Welcome to the Legacy Series. Today I have a very, very special guest. She's one of my BFFs, and this is the second time I have the honor of interviewing her. I met Pina 4 years ago in Cairo as we were both speakers down the Nile River. And we both happened to live in Sherman Oaks, and we became good friends since then. And the thing I love best about Pina is she is so ambitious, but in such a Zen way. She knows how to work hard. She connects people. She's a giver. She comes from her heart. She's a philanthropist, yet she is grounded in the real world where she has her own business. She's an entrepreneur, and she is a TEDx speaker. So I'm not going to say any more. We'll learn it in this interview. That's who you are, Pina.
Thank you.
Yes, you are someone who inspires.
Thank you. I would hope, I would hope so.
Yes, and when I met you 4 years ago, you have transformed tremendously. You were fabulous back then, but now it's like you found your groove. Before you were, this is who I am, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and yeah, I'm good, but am I good, or who am I, where do I want to go? And now you are just like, I'm nailing it, I'm in my body, I know what I want. You shed a lot of weight, you got a TED Talk. I mean, so I want to hear this whole journey. And what I love about you is you always come from the heart, and I want you to share in this interview the pitfalls, the trials and tribulations of getting from there to here.
Yeah, you met me at a place of transition.
Yes.
And I think we're always transitioning, whether we realize it or not, but some transitions are more obvious than others.
Yes.
And when we met, I was definitely at a place of transition. I was starting to say no to things more often, learning to take out what doesn't work. And stand up for, whether it's in my family or in my work or in my health, for what my vision is, in a powerful way, with compassion though, because up until I think shortly before I met you, I had almost abdicated, I feel, the right to be powerful, because I felt like when a woman is powerful, at least it was my experience, I had hurt people unintentionally, sort of like a bull in a china shop, and things had fallen off the shelves. And so then for a few years I was like, I don't want to be powerful because I don't want to hurt other people. And then shortly before you and I met, I had done an integration, because I really felt the part of me wants to be powerful, but part of me doesn't, because I don't want to hurt people. Like that internal push and pull that we all feel for one thing or another. So for me, it had to do with power. And when I finally owned my power, it was the glue of compassion that, by taking that in, allowed me to finally own my own power. And so by having compassion and power at the same time, I feel that that's when I finally started to be who I was, or who I'm designed to be, meant to be. And maybe you feel like I have my groove. I feel like I got my groove back.
Yes.
Be finally even in my body.
And we've done so much together. We've done a lot of self-growth work together. We went to Tanzania together, and you were blazed. We were yes. I mean, we've really purged, and we're not afraid of purging, which I think is the key of self-growth and self-love, because that's when you start to understand yourself. And at that time, you were about 50 pounds heavier. So how did you get to the point of loving yourself enough and trusting yourself enough to go on this weight loss journey and stick to it and have that be a part of who you are now, helping others?
Yeah, it was something I wasn't even aware of, to be honest about. I always was, as far as, eating healthy, exercising for the most part, I'd done a marathon, I'd done a few things, so I was somewhat active, I would say. But the extra weight, I think, was not about eating healthy and exercising. It was an extra protection from something that I didn't even think was an issue or was something. It's kind of like it was a forgotten box of Christmas ornaments that was packed into the basement and collecting dust. And I didn't even look at it as this thing that I was avoiding, or this thing that I wasn't dealing with, or this thing. I thought it was done and dusted, literally. And then my TED Talk came about, which was something that I wanted to do as a 5-year goal. You know, part of me is always looking to learn and grow, and the application to one of the mastermind groups that I wanted to be part of, it's a philanthropy women's goal group called the New Hollywood. In the application they said, well, what do you want to do in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? And I kind of run out of idea after the second question. I'm like, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, I'll do a TED Talk, you know, that sounds great. Because I've been a speaker for some time, so I figure 5 years, that'd give me some good time. And literally I went away on vacation 2 days after that interview with the New Hollywood, and when I came back a couple weeks later, there was an email in my inbox inviting me to do a TED Talk, which I almost fell off my chair, because I was like, I know that stuff happens, but darn it, it's just always surprising when that happens, right?
And how did that happen? How did you get connected, or who hooked you up?
I had just really literally just put it out there. For the first time I had verbalized it, because I had internally wanted to do something like this, but I was too scared to say it out loud, because, you know, when you declare something big, what if you fall and people watch you fall? And, you know, it's like, so I kind of just quietly had it as an intention internally for a good 3 months, because I remember I saw a TED Talk in May from a friend of mine, and the interview with the New Hollywood was in August. So that was literally the first time after writing it down in the application that I verbalized it. And I think it was just a matter of owning it and saying, yeah, I do want to do that. And sharing it with a friend whose assistant was then connected on the production team of one, and they're like, oh, well, we've seen your talks, and then the invitation came. Now, it was an invitation to apply, and you still got to apply and all that jazz, and then you're accepted in. And I thought, well, let me put it this way. I never thought my TED Talk was going to be about what it was. It was a story that I'd never shared before. I wasn't planning on sharing it. It wasn't anything that I thought needed to be dealt with, because I thought it had already been dealt with. So when that came out, and I remember my TED coach, because they assign you a coach, said to me, you know, TED is your opportunity to transcend what you normally speak about. He said, you want to set up a great expectation for your audience, and then you want to surprise them. Okay. Then, you know, that cuts away a lot of the
It does.
fat and the fluff, and you're like, oh, that story. Ooh, okay. So I got uncomfortable really quick, and I remember the Thursday night, this was, the TED was on a Saturday morning before Thanksgiving. The Thursday night, I was doing a last run through, and my brother happened to be in town from Europe, and he hadn't heard the story either, and I did give him a heads up, and he helped me a little bit with, you know, the practice that night, and there were a couple other friends. Sally was there, you know, her Kevin, my friend Kevin, you know, he was there. And after Sally and Kevin left, I was having a conversation with my brother. I was like, do you really think I should do this? And maybe I, you know, have some other stories. And he was like, no, you know, there's always something, and I paraphrase here, because I remember he was, like, the porch light was on, and he was about to leave. He's like, there's always something that we bump up against in our lives. And sometimes we don't know what it is, but we just keep bumping up against, and you found your thing. So by you sharing yours, it'll help other people find theirs. And then, you know, kind of just grow from there. And I thought that was such a wise, at least that's what I heard from what he said. That's such a wise thing, and it made it easier for me to share my story. And without rehashing the story, what happened, though, the sort of like the Reader's Digest version, is that I had equated for a number of years being healthy and fit with being in danger. Mm-hmm. So every time I was starting to lose the weight and get fit again, internally a red flag would go on, and it would be like, I don't know if I can swear here, FCC, but it would go, oh shit, you know, like, instead of being, oh yay, like I had lost 5 pounds or 2 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever it was, internally I'd feel really unsafe. So then I would self-sabotage and put the weight back on. And I could see the mechanism, but I didn't understand what was going on with it. And then the TED came out. Now talk about being visible, right? January 3rd, boom, start to the year, your TED Talk goes out. And then it starts getting hits and hundreds, and then it goes into the thousands, and then I would literally walk into a room and I feel, okay, nobody's seen it, and I would feel safe, which was bizarre. It was like the same as the being on the scale. And then I'd walk into a room. By then I was in the New Hollywood. Talk about, freaking intentionality, because we had our first meeting of the New Hollywood, and my TED Talk was done, edited, and published within, like I said, 5 years, and it just ended up being like 5 weeks or something. And I walked into that room, I remember, and I was like, okay, some members haven't seen it yet, and I felt safe. And some members had seen it, and these are all amazing, wonderful, empowering ladies who have your back, and still I felt unsafe. So I started to notice, being healthy and fit and visible, because healthy and fit, usually you become more visible. People notice you, they say something maybe about your physicality, equal being in danger. So that's why I had been hiding. So even though I was eating healthy and exercising, I was not losing the weight because I wasn't feeling safe. And then when I started to dig with a friend of mine, Renee, you probably know Renee O'Connor, yes? When I started to dig a little bit with her about how could I equate healthy and fit and safety to coexist. And I did some work with her. I did some work with other coaches. I always say, you could be the best brain surgeon on the planet, because I work with this with my clients. So it was baffling to me. It's like, I know these concepts, but it's one thing to have the concept, one thing to have the experience. So even if I'm the best brain surgeon on the planet, I'm not going to be able to operate on myself. So I took my whole toolbox to someone who does the work that I do, or, awareness work and that kind of stuff. And once I was able to get the experience of truly being healthy and fit equal safety, like I can be safe, then the weight started coming off, the self-sabotage started to stop, the fitness, the eating, all of that. Finally, the return on investment was paying off. It's not like I was sitting, at home eating bonbons or anything and weight was coming off. I was still doing the hard.
So I just wanted to ask you, as a mindset specialist, people always say, if you're a life coach, or if you're a psychologist, or if you're a therapist, or if you're how come all those people are so screwed up? They're not all screwed up. It's not
we're supposed to have it all buttoned up together. We're just a few steps ahead in certain areas.
It's like we have a lot of information and we have the tools and we've been trained to help people.
And guide people, but we need to be guided. For sure.
Help, and we could sometimes do it alone. Everyone could do it alone, but when you have a team like the New Hollywood, when you have
that's why I didn't
community,
want it to be in the New Hollywood, because to me,
talk a little bit about what the New Hollywood is, please.
It's a philanthropy women's goal group, so we look at our own goals, our roles that we have in our lives as a sister, as a daughter, as a mother, some of us as girlfriends, or like all the different roles as a woman in our community, as a healthy contribution to society, and so on, and then choosing our goals. For the year, we choose 12 goals. So I wanted to stretch myself, because that's what I help my clients with. And I felt like I needed to be in an environment where I would be supported to grow and supported to stretch. And we also do philanthropy work, which to me is extremely important. So at several meetings throughout the year, we choose philanthropy in a charity that we give money to. And we always volunteer, and certain ones, like the ones that are coming up at this time of year, is the Toys for Tots, and we donate a whole bunch of toys and money for our Hollywood party, which I know you'll be coming to, and so on. So there is a partnership, there's a growth, there's a contribution, but we're not supposed to have it all buttoned up and together as coaches. I think
when people think that you do. Yeah.
Well, it creates a disconnect, because it makes them. I think if I can't relate to someone, then I feel like they're on a pedestal, so I can't be with them. But I feel like I'm in the trenches with my clients. I may be just a few steps ahead. So by me losing the protection, which was showing up as extra weight, and being able to own my power without being afraid, showed other people maybe they don't necessarily need to lose weight, but something else that was protecting them from being open, from being raw.
And we all have something that is our, guard, our boundaries from other people to keep us safe.
For possibly, some very good valid reason, something that may have happened in the past, or just, some intuitive feeling like, I know there's no tiger here, but there's a bush. The tiger could be behind the bush. I always remember having this feeling of like, I know I can't see the tiger, but there are bushes, so there may be a tiger behind the bush. I had this amazing trip, Thanksgiving of '99, with one of my favorite teachers, Wayne Dyer, took us to Peru. And there was like 50 of us, or like a small group like that. And ever since, he's amazing, because ever since, whether it's a big conference or a little conference, if I show up at the conference, he's like, hi, how you doing? And he remembers me, right? And so one day I show up, I think it was in Las Vegas, and he's like, hold on, let's have, there was a lunch break. He was like, and then we went backstage and we had a salad. We were just sharing at the little buffet, and I said, so I have a question for you. And that's when he said, hold on, let's have lunch and talk about this. I said, I have this fear that, my relationship is great, my life is great, my finances are great, I love what I'm doing, but I feel like there is this tiger that's going to come get me. And I don't get what it is. And he gave me an answer then that made no sense to me whatsoever, but now I totally get it. He said, it's not about trust. It's about knowing. I'm like, okay.
That's a paradigm shift.
Yeah, I was like, okay, because he's gotten so esoteric over the years, right? He used to be more. But I get that. I think when you met me, I was going through that transition of finally owning my trust. And once you own your trust, because I had been burned big time when 2 years prior to you meeting me. So I was like, well, can people be trustworthy? Do I trust my decision? I knew my value. I just, if people sign a contract and they don't honor it, then what do you do with that? How do you trust people? But it was more about trusting myself, because my intuition was telling me not to enter that contract. And I should have listened to it, not just heard it. Oftentimes, I find like my 30s were about hearing it, but not listening to it. So now in our 40s, we hear it, we listen to it, it drives us. And so the trust, there's no more second guessing. It's a knowing. It truly is. And it doesn't mean that the bank account needs to match it. It doesn't mean that you don't have a crappy week where your car gets towed twice, But there's still that knowing that it's just unfolding that way. It doesn't mean I don't get pissed off. It doesn't mean I don't get disappointed, or that we have it all together. But us, I think, as coaches going through this allows us to have an understanding and a compassion for when our clients go through it.
Yes, and I love the thought of knowing that I don't know. So if someone you want to teach me something, I'm not going to go, no, hey, Pina, I'm a life coach. I know what I'm doing. It's like, oh, what do you know? Because, I didn't even know I didn't know that. I think that's what Wayne Dyer was sharing with you. And if you just constantly stay open, that's where the answers come in. That's when the miracles happen. That's when people go, oh my God, I got lucky, or you're always so lucky. How do you always get so lucky? It's because you're open to it. You're an open vessel, hungry for knowledge and for growth, and regardless of where you are. I think Steven Spielberg is still open, always probably reading what's a good story to tell, what's a good story to share, what don't I know about the Holocaust, even though he's like an expert, he still would be open to talking with people. And then I think that's what creatives do, that's what the leaders that I've met do. They're always voracious learners.
Yeah, open is
It's not, I'm a writer, I'm a best writer, so I don't have to write anymore. No, you still write every day. You still take lessons. You learn from other writers. You share ideas.
Yeah, for me, I put myself in that mastermind, and I went to and have a few chats with Renee. Whoever you feel is someone that, here's the thing, we're either expanding or contracting. We've heard it a million times. And there are certain people we just contract around them. There's certain situations we contract in those situations. And so I ask myself every morning the question, how can I be even more expansive right now?
And you got to look at what you were mentioning earlier about being, like basically trusting your gut of who do I contract with and who do I expand with. And the people you contract with, you either look at it and say, let me walk through this so I could heal it, so it's not a pattern with all people like that, because maybe they're projecting something that shows you something not perfect in yourself, so you don't like that quality in them, but that's because you have it strong in yourself, so you deal with it. Or they're just a bad egg, or we don't click right now, so you go, no thank you. Yeah, so you say, I'm not going to be around that, even if they're offering all these, bells and whistles and shiny things. You're like, I'm not going down there, because you trust your gut.
Yeah.
And it's not right for you. It might be right for someone else, but not for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes for relationships and work and business. And to me, that's a secret of success, of knowing when to listen to someone, trust someone, and trusting your gut. Even for us.
And trusting that it's all unfolding anyway. I mean,
it is.
We get that concept. We don't have to have it together by any means. We just are, for certain clients and certain conversations, a couple of steps ahead. And so if I feel like if my journey of how uncomfortable that TED Talk was, or the 50 whatever pounds that I lost, inspires other people, then it was worth my uncomfortableness of it, because it's still uncomfortable for me to see it. But when I call it my little soldier of light, because when I see that it impacts people and they leave situations that might have been harmful for them, then it was worth me going through that and growing through that, because it's now helping someone else. My purpose, and I think I learned that from my parents and from just in general, the life that I've had, that I've been lucky to have, is to live, to learn, and to empower.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I'm more in the living. Right now, I feel like I'm more in the learning in certain arenas. And then with my clients, I just love it, because that to me is where I really get to empower others to see their ability to soar. They release all their stuff. And it might have been 50 pounds of self-doubt. Maybe it wasn't in their clothes, but it was a peer. And once that's released, they just watch them soar. And that's such a gift, to be able to see that happen.
So another thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I think you're an expert in connecting in community. And I get that. I get asked by many clients. And, I have a Soul Blazing certificate program. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is, if I go through this program, can you guarantee me that I'm going to make X amount a month? At least I want $5,000 a month. And it's just like, I'm sleeping on my dad's couch, or I'm sleeping here, I can't pay the bills, I'm this and that, and I'm going to charge this. So can you guarantee that I'm going to make all this money back and then some, like make at least 6 figures a year? And I always tell them, for one thing, I don't take those people. I say, you need to work on yourself first.
Yeah.
You need coaching first to get to a point where you're not if you're desperate, nobody wants you. You have to have your act together enough. But all these people, what they have in common is they're loners, and they're trying to do everything themselves because they don't trust, or they don't do this. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, because you know very well the power in community. Once you got with the New Hollywood, once we started becoming better friends, everyone helps each other, and you build and grow together. You have someone to celebrate with. You have someone to go through your down times with. But if you do it alone because you're afraid, and the competition, and if I share, and if I do this, you'll never make it. And I try to share that. They're going, no, I got to do it by myself. This person's going to steal my clients. This person's going to steal my ideas. This person's going to...
expanding or contracting. I mean, I came to America, it was 1990, and I was 18 years old. I still don't have any family in this country, unless, of course, we count my dog. He's my family. So if I had tried to do everything on my own, gosh, it's not... I don't know that it's sustainable. I remember one of my very first business cards had that famous Zig Ziglar quote on it that said, if you help enough other people, I'm trying to remember, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. So to me, it was a being a service and adding value and
not being afraid of, if you help someone else, it's taking away from you.
No, that's like saying you have one child and then the second one comes along and you gotta love the first child a little less so you can give to the second child. It makes no sense whatsoever. You just love the first child, and then even if you have twins and all of a sudden you have three, you're like, there's that much more to give. So it's not that everybody around us is like children in any way, but it's more like it's a concept of love. The more you have, the more you can give. I feel the less you have, the more you live in that scarcity. And sometimes people come into our lives and challenge that. And we can choose to grow from it. We can, lick our wounds for a bit. And I remember my friend Lauren's mom, Tina. Lauren had a major heartbreak. She was on a bike tour on a Habitat for Humanity, and they were cross-country building houses, raising money, and they were bicycling from the East Coast to the West Coast, ending in San Francisco. And her friend right in front of her, one of her friend, was hit and died. And so her heart broke halfway through. And she has a TED Talk, she talks about it. It just broke. It's literally just like her friend just died right there in front of her when they were doing all this good stuff in the world, and they're in their early 20s and they've got their whole lives ahead of them. And so she called her mom, and she was just like in that moment. And I've lost a best friend, and anytime you lose someone like that, you just go, what? And her mom said something along the lines of, Lauren, your heart breaks because your whole world now can rush into it. And there's something about that. Every time my heart breaks, because I tend to be someone who falls in love about 3 times a day, so my heart breaks pretty often, that the world needs to rush in. There's some growth that needs to happen. And my feisty self might not like it. Cause sometimes I feel like little Tinkerbell, I get really mad, like, ah! But then I remember Tina's words of like, because the world needs to rush into it, and your heart gets bigger, and dust yourself off. And
can you share an obstacle that you've had on your way to success and how you overcame it, like in simple steps, like 3 tips or what you did?
Well, my weight is just pretty darn, like, very obvious. Like the obstacle being that I self-sabotaged myself. There's obstacles in relationships, obstacles in finances, obstacles in... So I think overall is that thing that Wayne Dyer said that goes from trusting to knowing, which I think comes with life and experience. And it's not so much about trusting other people as trusting yourself. So I think step 1 comes from hearing that intuition and then listening to it. Those are 2 different things. And if they're not connected, you just kind of keep repeating that loop until you get that lesson you're supposed to get. So hearing that intuition and listening to that intuition, or the voice or God or whatever the belief might be, because sometimes it's an internal voice, sometimes it's an external voice. For that intuition around my weight, that I would be safe even if I was visible, even if I was fit and healthy, because I got in really bad danger when I was fit and healthy, so I didn't want to be that anymore, to stay out of danger.
There are like 3 hard tips, though. If you have an obstacle, how do you get through it in 3 tips?
Yeah, so hear and listen. Look at if there's something that you can stop doing. And then what is something that is working that you can keep doing. So it's not necessarily about starting all kinds of new stuff, but what is something that you're doing that's not working? Stop it. Like, just literally stop it.
But how do you stop it? How do you change that programming?
Come to see me. No, see someone, talk with someone, have a conversation with a trustworthy person that has your back, that has your best interest at heart, that you can feel vulnerable, that you can feel open, that you can feel wrong, that you can feel raw, and they won't judge you. and they have your back, and they might give you the insight on how you can stop doing that thing, because they know you. You know, they can see your blind spot. You know, I knew I needed to stop the self-sabotage. I just didn't know how. But I needed to realize that that's what I needed to stop, is the self-sabotage. And then, you know, keep something that's working and acknowledge that and keep feeding that little flower.
So what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, given that my purpose is to live, to learn, and to empower, and it took me a while really to solidify it, to live, to learn, and to empower, my legacy would be to live that purpose. And if I can empower people to live their fullest potential while I go through my trial and tribulations of doing the same, then that would be fantastic. And then part two, so to really empowering people to soar. So I am fortunate that I can see that with my clients, and when they're up to big things and seeing them go for it is awesome. And part two, my legacy would be, I am working on something that could literally be a game changer, a groundbreaking way to look at medicine through early cancer detection. And my best friend who died of a misdiagnosis of cancer, or a late diagnosis of cancer, and then, you know, by the time it's stage 4, it's hard to come back from that. I'm using that sorrow, that sadness, that energy to bring forth that there's method and there's ways that a cancer can be detected early at stage 0 and stage 1 with 99% accuracy. So if I can bring that forth to the public and people don't lose their best friend, their dad, their children to cancer, and if that can be my legacy, that would be awesome. So we're in the process of producing that documentary and
that's beautiful.
putting the story out there. It's a game changer. It is totally a game changer. And it's not like world peace where you're like, well, I hope it happens and it's it feels like almost like an impossible promise. The more we shoot this documentary, the more I feel like this is actually a possible promise. We could shift the face of medicine and literally save people's lives. And if in some way I'm connected with that, then my legacy is,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was great having you on.
Always great conversation with you, Lisa.
That was so
but you know, you and
insightful.
I, we work hard and we play hard.
Yes, we do.
Balance,
Sacred
balance,
of life.
balance.
Yes.
Balance.
Well, thank you so much. And we get to go out now and play. We both just had our hair done. Kind of, yeah.
This is how we wake up. What are you talking about, Lisa?
Exactly. So, yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.